everyone. Today we're going to be grooming a Schnauzer, and I just want to go over the equipment that we're going to be using before we get started. So of course we have our clippers, and then our blades that we're going to use. We're going to use a number 40 blade or a number 30 blade. You don't have to have both, they're interchangeable. Our number 10 blade, our 7F, which is what we're going to use for our pattern. You could also use a 5F or a 4F. And then in the end we're going to use this blade, it's called a 7 skip, and we're going to use this for some skimming. So this is a totally optional blade. You don't have to use this blade for the grooming. It's just something I'm going to show in the end for a little extra finishing touch. And then to groom the legs, we're also going to be using an O comb and a 1 comb. Again, these two are optional. They go on top of your 30 or 40 blade, but you can just use your scissors and leave the legs more natural if you'd like. We're going to show both variations in this video. And of course we have our thinning shears that we always use, and our curved scissors. You can also use straight scissors, however I always prefer the curved. And then our fine tooth comb and our slicker brush. So let's get started. Hello everyone, today we're going to be grooming Fritz, a miniature Schnauzer. So the first thing we're going to do is shave the pads of his feet with our 40 blade. You can use a 30 blade or a 40 blade. We're just going to shave out the pads of his feet. His nails have already been trimmed, so we're just going to shave out the hair that's between his pads here. And the reason we shave the pads is so that they don't get mats in there, and it just sort of gives them more traction and a much cleaner line when we trim around it. So we've shaved out the pads of the feet. The next thing we're going to do is shave around the private area. So we're going to switch to a 10 blade. Now that we've got him somewhat prepped, the next thing we're going to do is actually put his pattern on him. And today we're going to use a number 7 blade on Fritz. For a Schnauzer, you can use a number 7, a number 5, or a number 4 for their pattern. Some people also will use a 10, but that's depending on how short you want it. But we're going to use a 7 on him today. When doing a groom, I like to start at the base of the head and work my way back and put the pattern on, and then when I'm finished, go back and do the head last. That way everything's balanced. So I'm going to start right behind his ears. And with the Schnauzer pattern, you should come down to about the elbow, a little bit higher, and you're going to sort of very gently try to blend it out, because that's where our pattern line is going to be. And you can see I'm just sort of blending. You don't want it to be real noticeable, and you want to go with the grain of the hair to do your pattern line. You just want to go down the thigh. You want to accentuate the muscle here, and then again just sort of taper off here, and then we'll do some hand scissoring to blend all that. really see where my pattern line is here. And it sort of goes across the elbow, across the stomach, and then up just a tiny bit, and then back down here. Go over it and kind of smooth it out a little, and kind of pull up the skin a little bit so that the blade doesn't get stuck in the skin. So kind of just pull it a little bit tight as you're working. And with your brush, back brush a little, get it a little smoother. Here really should blend. If you use a 7 or longer, a 7, a 5, or a 4, it should blend very well. When you use the 10, it is very short and you can see a very distinct line, but it really should be more natural, unless, of course, you like the very distinct line. Just want to be super cautious when cutting back here because you can't cut them very easily. You can kind of roll the skin out a little bit to get a flatter space to work on. I'm just going to set my pattern line on the other side. So it's down almost to the elbow. A little bit. Let's accentuate the muscle here. Extra here. just take our number 7 blade and kind of clean this up a little bit, and then our 10 blade on the inside of the legs to clean that up a little bit, and under his tail, of course. Very gentle under the tail, and you can see this little extra. We can always trim that with scissors too. Switch to my 10 blade. And then I'm going to hold up one side of his leg so I can reach in and get the inside of that leg. And I'm just going to shave the inside part of that thigh. We don't want to get into this front part of our leg here. Just the inside of the thigh. The idea is just to accentuate the muscle. Okay, and then we're going to tighten up the line over his chest. So it should come across his elbow and then actually reach up a little bit and go across his chest and then slope back down to his elbow. As you can see there, it sort of blends, looks very natural. And that's the way really your whole line should be across the whole dog. It should almost look like it grows that way and isn't clipped. So we've got our basic pattern. And then next we'll trim his feet and then go over his legs with our comb guard to shorten it a little bit, more for the pet clip at home, a little less maintenance. And then we'll finish with his head. So we're going to brush it all down. And I like to sit the foot down a lot just to kind of see how it's coming along, see what it looks like. Just going to go around that, make it all nice and round. And at this point, really, how much trimming you do is personal preference. If you like, you know, sort of a fuller foot and a more natural look, you can see it's just a little neater, a little more trim than this foot here. So depending on what you like, you can leave it like that. So that would be one option, is just to leave it sort of more natural with rounded, fluffy feet. And just a nice little light trim on the skirt. option is to use our comb guard, which will shorten it a little bit and helps, you know, for the pet schnauzers, keep them from getting matted and whatnot. So I'm going to go ahead and take my comb guard over these legs and show you the variation, a little bit shorter, a little easier, a little less maintenance clip. So for his legs today, I'm going to use an O comb, which is going to leave about an inch on his legs. And I just put my 30 blade back on. You can use a 30 or a 40 depending on what kind of comb guard you use. And then your comb guard attachment. These are the same as the plastic ones that are in our other videos. It's just a metal variation. I'm just going to take my clippers and just go down the whole leg. Just sort of shortens it and gives it more of a shape. Same thing with this leg. And you just want to brush up and go over it several times, kind of get that extra hair. You maybe even go a little bit shorter and go down to a 1 comb. And then if you decide to use the comb attachment, then we'll go back over and scissor all this, make it neat. Just going to use our comb to brush it out straight. And when grooming any dog, I like to let them put their foot down a lot just to kind of see what it's going to look like when they're standing in their natural position. I'll shorten everything just to keep it balanced. just use your comb a lot and make sure you don't miss any hairs. Make sure all is balanced. You can take the comb guard down the chest too a little bit if you'd like, just to shorten that up a little bit. This back leg a little bit. I just want to pull the hair forward and trim down so you can get a nice clean edge. And then kind of check the inside line here also. And a lot of getting it neat is just going over it and over it and making sure it looks good from every angle. And you can really see the difference between the sort of neater trimmed down version and the where we were before with the more natural version. So I'm just going to go ahead and do our comb guard version on the other side. Make sure it's don't have any tangles or mats. And then if you know for sure that you want to cut some of the length off the legs and use the comb guard, you can do that first before you scissor the foot. So we're going to go ahead and use our one comb. We're just going to work on just getting all that extra hair off. Good. So you can see it's just going to take some length off. Get as much as you can off, but it doesn't have to be perfect. We'll finish it with scissors. So after we've gone over the leg a little bit with the comb guard and we know about the length that we want, then we can scissor the foot and finish scissor the leg. And the first thing you want to do is just scissor all away from the pad kind of leave a little bit of that up there. Set the foot down, kind of see what it looks like. I think that's really key when you're grooming, is just to make sure that you're setting the dog's foot down into the natural position a lot, so that you know what it's going to look like as you move along. So I'm going to pick his foot back up. I'm just going to round that. See what it looks like. I'm going to be careful to check it from every angle. Make sure it's nice and neat. Of course, placing the foot down again. We can brush up and swoop across the front. And you don't want to cut too much off. You just want to do a round circular motion and just take off a little bit. You can see we're getting a nice, clean, short shape. Much less matting with the shorter hair. Easier maintenance. And just clean up the line there. So now we're really starting to get a nice clean lines, clean shape. Slide him back up this way so you can see. And then as we're doing this detail finishing, this is where you kind of get a little bit of that under his tail. I just hold my scissors backwards and just trim that a little extra. Good boy. Just make sure that tail is nice and round and neat. We just have one leg unfinished. You can just see the difference. Neaten up underside of our pattern line here. I'm just going to hold my scissors and follow the curve of his body. Swoop up a little bit here. I'm going to try to look underneath them. Make sure I don't miss any of this here, because we want that to be neat also all the way across. And then we're going to go ahead and use our comb guard on his last leg here. foot. So we're going to pick it up, brush everything down. And just scissor it all the way from the pad as much as possible. Set that down. See what kind of shape we're starting to get there. It's going to round across the front. And I'm just going to continue to put his foot down and pick it up and just sort of really get a good look at it. Make sure I get nice neat lines back. Let's see where that is. We'll take all that off. Nice neat straight line. Consider that short, or the Schnauzer you can just leave it natural, whichever you prefer. It's sort of more for home grooming. A little shorter is a little less maintenance, a little less getting mad. So here's our body clip on the Schnauzer, where we've used a comb guard on the legs to make them short and neat. And then once I have the body finished, that's when I like to go back and finish up the face and the head. Okay, so here we have the body finished on our Schnauzer, and now we're going to go on to the head. The first thing that I like to do is use my thinning shears and sort of trim away some of this brown hair here. And you do want to use thinning shears and not scissors because it'll leave a much more natural line. So I'm just going to pull his beard up and take some of this brown and just literally just snip it off. And of course, don't want to get too much of it, but just enough to keep it away from his mouth. You can see the difference there. Good boy. And again, just for, our pets at home, it just keeps it a little cleaner and easier to take care of. A little bit of that there too. And same thing on the other side. Let's see where that's a little brown there. Good boy. Just want to make sure there's no tangles in its beard. Now your typical show Schnauzer, of course, will have a long beard. Now the length of the beard is really up to you. Some people actually like them, very short and round. Fritz's stays fairly long. But again, it's totally up to you. You could cut all of that off and just have a little round beard if you'd like. And I've got my 10 blade on here, and I'm going to shave the outside of his ears with a 10 blade. And then I'm going to shave the inside of the ears with a 40. I'm going to take this fold and push it up a little bit. We're going to go all along the outside of the ear, just from the base of the ear up, and we're going to go outwards towards the edge of his ear. And of course, being careful to hold it so that the blade doesn't get caught in the skin. And then some people do shave the inside of the ear with a 10 also. I like to use a 40 because I think it gives it a little bit of a cleaner line. But I only use the 40 just on the inside of the ear. And again, I'm just going from the base and I'm working my way out to the tip of the ear, being careful not to catch it. You just want to be real careful when you're using that blade there. So you can see the difference there. And we still have an edge here, which we'll use our scissors to cut. But we've got the back of the ear shaved and the inside of the ear shaved with our 40 blade. So when you're done shaving, it should look about like that. We're going to do the same thing to the other ear. 10 on the outside. Good boy. So just from the base of the ear, I'm working our way out, and this we're going to do after we get the 10 the shape. We're going to do a 7 backwards on this to blend it all in. Switch to the 40 for the inside of the ear. And again, with the inside of the ear, you could just stick with your 10 blade. You could go use a 30 blade even. Like I said, I just prefer the 40. So we can get that cleaned up as we can. And then we're going to put our 7 blade back on, which is the same length that we used on his body. Now, if you do the body with a 5 or a 4, I would still use a 7 blade backwards to do the head. You'll just have a little bit more blending to do here. With the grain of the hair. And then what I'm actually going to do is hold the ear to make sure I don't cut it. And I'm going to take the number 7 blade, and I'm going to go against the grain of the hair. Just got to be real careful not to cut the ear there. So neaten up my line back here. As you can see, sort of blends a lot better. It looks more natural. So we'll just keep working our way forward. Hold on to the ear. I'm going to get this little tuft here. You can see I'm just working my way forward, getting all that extra hair. And then I'll just sort of very gently go over the eyebrow there to blend it. Because again, you don't really want to see a line. See, and then we'll do the same thing on the other side. Good boy. So you can see we're starting to get it cleaned up a little bit. And then what we're going to do underneath here is we're actually, again, going to take the 7-blade this direction against the grain of the hair, and we're going to make a nice little line where his beard is. And you want to go out from the corner of the eye maybe about a 1/2 inch, and this really, of course, is just, you know, a little bit more personal preference for the home groomer. Some people like it real short. You can kind of taper it in a little bit more. But it should go from about a 1/2 inch up the corner of the eye, enough room to make a little bit of an eyebrow. And then you're going to go up. Most, you know, schnauzers where they have this white, you're just going to take off that little triangle there and then leave enough for a beard. Take this off. Good boy. So you see you can really starting to get a neat shape on the face. And of course we'll use our scissors and our thinning shears, finish all that and around our ears, but we're going to go ahead and put in our little pattern lines first. And then to get between our eyebrows here, we're going to use thinning shears and we're going to use a number 10 blade right around the corners of the eyes. Now again with Schnauzer, some people like to take the 10 blade all the way down the nose just to make it neater. Some people like to actually grow this out completely so it's a full beard and not do any trimming. It's really just, you know, personal preference. We sort of do an in-between with Fritz. We take out the corners of the eyes and trim down the top of the nose just a little bit, but we don't actually shave it down. So it's really just going to have to kind of play around with it and see what you like your dog to look like and what works for you. Let's switch to our 10 blade. Good boy, Fritzy. I'm going to hold the eyebrows out of the way so we don't trim them. Just go right in the corner of the eye. And it's going to take out just a little bit of that hair in the corner of the eyes. Good boy. And just a tiny bit there between the eyebrows. And then I'm going to use my thinning shears a little bit between here. Kind of get that little extra. So it's kind of cleared away a little bit. corners of the eyes here a little more. Thinning shears are very versatile. You can use them to get rid of mats and for shaping and to make a natural line. So all we're going to do is just take this down a little bit. About like that. Good boy, Fixie. I'm going to go ahead and put the shape in for my eyebrows. Again, with the show Schnauzer, it would be very tight against the corner of the eye, and it would come out very, very long here and sort of a point. Again, for home groomer, most people like a little bit shorter, sort of rounded eyebrow, which is more of what we do for Fritz. So I'm going to brush it all out straight. I'm going to take my scissors. I'm going to hold them backwards. That. And then you can see I'm very close to the corner of the eye, but not completely up against it. Run this way. And just sort of trim that down to whatever you think looks good. Good boy. And then since he does like sort of more of a little bit of a rounded eyebrow, go ahead and take off that tip. It's just sort of a cute little home style home groom for a Schnauzer. Don't have to have the long show eyebrows. And I can use my thinning shears to go in there and clean it up a little bit. And that's kind of our little short eyebrow. So we'll do the same thing on the other side. Brush it all straight. The scissors backwards. Just cut some of that off, getting close to the eye, but not completely to the edge. Take off that little edge there. You can always stop and look at it, see how it looks. And then again, with our home groom Schnauzer eyebrows, we're going to round it a little bit. I'm just going to keep brushing it and going over it until it looks nice and neat. Use my thinning shears and go in and get whatever looks out of place. He's got some calyx in his eyebrows, which most Schnauzers have. Just kind of work with that a little bit. Use your thinning shears to neaten it. So we've got our eyebrows in, we've got our beard. I'm going to go back and I'm going to trim the edges of the ear, make it all nice and neat. You're going to hold the ear and just very carefully take your scissors right along the edge. Just like that. There's a little extra hair in here. Snip a little bit with your scissors. careful. I'm closing it very gently so I don't get the tip of his ear. And anytime you're worried about safety, you can always use your thinning shears too to get extra hair. Anything extra that might be sticking up. And if your Schnauzer has natural ears, you'll do the exact same thing. It's just, of course, his ears will be natural and flop down, but you're going to do the exact same process. Again, just right along the edge. And take a look at it, see how it's looking. Okay, so we're just putting our finishing touches on our Schnauzer face. I'm going to use my thinning shears. And I'm just going to take this down a little bit because we want this to look kind of natural. You could just take your blade right down it depending on what you like best. Fritz here, we like it to look natural, but still a little bit short and clean and neat. And then I'm just going to neaten up this line here a little bit with my scissors. Same thing on the other side. And then with Fritz, we like to leave the beard long, so we'll just take a tiny little bit off the bottom. You can do it as short as you want. Still, buddy. Just double check, make sure everything looks neat. So there's our finished Groom. There's one more little trick that I like to do with a little bit of blending. It's called skimming. So I'm going to show you that real quick. So with the Schnauzers or pattern breeds, a lot of times I like to go over their pattern line with a skip tooth 7. And you can see this is a very sharp blade, and I don't ever recommend using this on the dog's skin. I only use these 7 skip blades for blending. So I'm just going to brush out my pattern, my skirt here on my pattern line. And I'm just going to very gently go down. You can see you can kind of even scoop it in a little bit. It just sort of gives a nice little finishing touch. And same thing here. And I'm just going along the line. I'm not actually touching the dog's skin. You can see it gives a nice clean line and kind of blends that a little bit. Do that, get that extra off. And you can see it's just taken off a little tiny bit, but just kind of giving it that little finishing touch. And this, of course, is really just optional. Just adds a little extra. And there we have our finished schnauzer.
Good boy, Fritz. He's a handsome little boy.